Hello and welcome to the SCOUTCAST. Two of us have had a shocker of a game week. There are plenty of rough with the smooths to get through, but at least one of us did well. My name is Joe.
My name's Az.
And my name is Karam.
Welcome everyone. Before I ask Az for a rundown of what's on the show, I wanted to thank all of the 50,000 YouTube subscribers that watch us now, and all the other content that's on the Fantasy Football Scout channel. Really great to reach that milestone there, that 50k, and hopefully we all get ranks above 50k as well to welcome them all to watching the show. Az, apart from Karam's good score and our bad ones, what else is on the show?
I know, we had one request, didn't we? Don't bring on someone who's had a good week. And what do? They bring on Karam, who's got a massive score. So yeah, thanks for that. Well, the
I'll mention it only once.
Yeah, sure you will, sure you will. Apart from Karam, we've got the ultimate nostalgia pick back at Spurs in Gareth Bale, priced up today, 9.5. Man City, Karam's team, looking hard to ignore. We're going to talk about our wildcard teams. Well, some of us are imaginary wildcard teams, and who would get. And then just normal stuff, looking ahead, next 4 game week fixtures. Karam is going to pick us a differential after my opponent's success. And we're going to reveal our teams for game week 3.
Yes, indeed. So let's have a look at see how we got on at game week 1. Let's just put it this way: some mixed fortunes. So, Karam, you can go first. I'll just, for the benefit of our podcast listeners, you've got McCarthy, Van Dijk, Robertson, Justin, and Alexander-Arnold. We'll come to that shortly. Aubameyang captain, Son, well done. Barnes, well done. Grudgingly, Werner, Ings, well done.
I hate this.
Wilson, and well, at least you didn't get any bench points. I just want to say it's a really interesting setup, and I know you were on one of our videos a couple of weeks ago, and you had a few pelters from people saying, "What on earth are you doing? Van Dijk, Robertson, and Alexander-Arnold? No Salah or Mane?" Well, hey presto, you've got a triple clean sheets there, and it's freed up room for the likes of Son, Barnes, Werner, Ings as well. So, yeah, it's a good structure.
Move.
What was your thinking behind that structure, and how relieved are you that it seems to be paying off? It still looks good in the weeks to come as well, by the looks of it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Before I speak about the team, I just want to say many congratulations to FF Scout for reaching the 50k subscribers on YouTube. Sensational record. Many years of hard work and Scoutcast over the years. So very well done, and hopefully, next to the 100k. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Andy the other day in the video team reveal, and I was so sure that I'm a strong believer in this approach this season, because the amount of the premiums and the expensive players are too many, and the only way to try and switch between them is to take that risk and go triple Liverpool defense. And everybody was pretty much saying, "Oh, you will not have them by game week 3." The thing is, it didn't look bad actually in the first game week as well. Van Dijk did not blank yet. Robertson did not blank yet. It's only TA in game week 1. But Salah's hat-trick made it look like it's frightening. It's bad. But yeah, I got lucky with the clean sheet, so I give a shout out to Alisson Becker for saving the penalty. I was like, oh no.
Well, why at Chelsea as well? But the one game you wouldn't expect it, and you get the triple.
Exactly. I was telling Andy, like, I'm expecting 1 clean sheet in the first 3. That's my expectation, and that happened. So no pressure in game week 3. But yeah, so that's what happened in a game week where we don't have more than 3 clean sheets. I got a fortune to have my 3 defenders with that clean sheet. Justin with a goal. It allowed me to get, if you look at the returns, the lowest player who got a return was my captain, apart from the blanks. So Son, hero. Ings, hero. Barnes, hero. Werner, Werner was the one I wanted him
It's too much points. You got double the one we got.
I know. You got our scores combined.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely happy that Werner blanked, right? I'm absolutely happy that Werner blanked. So it's only Wilson actually that he blanked literally because McCarthy, I want him to concede from Son. And I did not realize before this morning that Son was actually my vice captain, because I've never ever thought or considered to captain any other one but Aubameyang. So, no, very delighted with it. I feel I got lucky with a clean sheet from Liverpool, nevertheless. But it opened the opportunity to use my 2 free transfers. I've already used them. We will speak about them later on. And 146 points in the first 2 game weeks.
Yeah. So it's 89 points with this game week. So what's that take you to in the rankings?
About 300k at the minute.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, by Saturday evening, I was 3 million-ish. I had no Everton. I had no Everton. I had no Leeds, no Fulham. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm missing out. But Sunday was terrific.
The thing is, it gave me a thought looking at your team there, and it didn't really occur to me now until you see the triple clean sheet. And I think I could handle the wipeout, but I don't really like defenders. I don't really like clean sheets. I don't like having 3-4 different ones. And it seems quite sensible the way I play to actually have all of my defenders from one team and then just have a set and forget goalie as well. Obviously, you can't have 4 from the same team. And it strikes me that, I don't know, I'm not ruling it out. I may go a triple Liverpool defence at some point.
It means you can't have Salah or Mane.
Yeah, that's the downside. But then, as we'll just discuss, there's even more premium midfielders for us to consider. So it may well be that the adding Van Dijk can offset those Salah points. Who knows? Something to think about. Anyway, as you're next. There we go. So for the benefit of our podcast listeners as well, you've got Ryan, Alexander-Arnold. We're here, clean sheets. And then you've got Davis, Walker-Peters, Ayling. And then in a 4-4-2, you've got Salah, Aubameyang captain, Havertz, Pereira. We've got 10 points. Werner and Martial there, and not much on the bench. So that was 42 points because you took a hit. So you took a hit. Who came in and out? It wasn't anything horrendous, was it?
You know perfectly well who came in.
Who came in and who came out for those?
Danny Ings were left for Martial, which was.
There we go.
It was always the plan. So I'm not going to pretend that I even considered for a second keeping Ings. I didn't want him and I wanted Martial. And Ings went down in price and it needed to be done as part of the plan. Obviously, in hindsight, it's a bad move, but I stuck to the plan. And then I had Vinagre as well. So I just thought, with him going down, I wanted to get in a player too. So the moves don't look great on reflection, but I still think they were the right kind of moves to make.
Never know.
You never know. I mean, my highest scoring player was Pereira, who I've been bigging up.
I envy your Pereira, to be honest. That's how bad my team is.
And I mean, his assist was full of jam. His free kick was lovely. After Chelsea, he's got a really nice run of games, so I'm keeping him in. And the rest is just pretty bad. I mean, I've got an article coming out on the Scout tomorrow. Like, I don't think it's as bad as people make out. I think like my 2 biggest problems there are Ben Davies and Havertz. And Havertz is playing West Brom, and Ben Davies is an easy switch to Stace. So I'm not wildcarding it. I'm not panicking hard. I'm gonna ride out the pain and see what happens.
And see where. Do you know what? I've got the same attitude as well. I don't know whether it's whatever's going on in the world but I've got an even worse score than you, only by 1 point. I've got 41 points. And I'll put my picture up in a minute. But I just wanted to say, I feel on the Saturday, usually I'll be like, oh my God, because all these hat tricks were going in. And then Sunday, more of them. And I was not getting any of them. And, I was like getting nothing. And usually I would be like, really feeling. But this time I was quite surprised myself that I was sort of didn't really mind. I was just thinking about other stuff. But I don't know. Maybe I should.
I was
beat myself up about it.
Every goal that went in was like a knife to the heart.
I don't know whether it's playing the Sky game as well, because a lot of those players that were banging in those amazing scores, I've got in Sky. So I was sort of celebrating them in a way, but Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It was just like every time you thought it couldn't get worse, something else happened. Like the Everton game couldn't have been worse. The Spurs game couldn't have been worse. The City game couldn't have been. It's like the United blank couldn't have been worse. Like everything that could possibly have been bad happened. I hated it.
I love the live chat sometimes. Joe, overthought and in big trouble. Okay, I'll put my team up. I'll tell you what, mate, I didn't overthink at all. I did nothing. I underthought. I did literally nothing. And this is what happens when you do nothing, when you actually underthink. So I got Ryan, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold and Dyer. So I actually got 3 clean sheets there, but then that's about it. I got Aubameyang captaincy a little bit. Soucek, Salah, St. Maximum, Martial, who I already had on my bench, Adams and Werner. So that's one of the reasons I was sort of not as bothered as normal, because it wasn't one of those things where, you know, you take out those, you know, it's that whole, I mean, we're going to come to it with the rough, with the smooth. If you've taken out Son for a player that blanks and then you see them rack up 4 goals, it's like, oh my God, you know that you actively made this decision. But I didn't make any decisions here. I deliberately thought, I was going to do, we talked about it before, I was going to do Salah to Fernandes. And it wouldn't have altered my score at all that much. But it just felt like a luxury move, so I didn't do it. So I just did nothing. So I'm going to start making some moves, making some transfers from now on, really.
How do you feel about Adams? Because he surely should have scored, right? With the 5 shots, 3 big chances. He was in the right position. Every time you feel that's a goal. And somehow it's missed.
I don't know. It's one of these, I've got a table which I'll put up later, which will have Adams on that. But it's one of those things. At the moment, we're not sure. With 2 game weeks data, do we think Adams is just rubbish? He's not. You know, he's getting chances, he's getting in the positions, but he's missing just because he can't shoot properly. Or
world class saves.
Yeah. Or is it world class saves? And on another day, he'd have walked away with a brace. We don't know at this stage because we've only got 2 weeks evidence. But I tell you what, in 2 weeks' time, game week 4, he plays the West Brom defence. So I'm very reluctant to sell at the moment, price drops or not. My team and Az's team not so good. But luckily for us, there's people who've done even worse. So we've got some teams here just before, and as you've got some smooths and rough scores, and there's a lot this week, so we'll try and race through them. But I do want to give a special mention to a group of posters on Twitter. I said, who out there has transferred out Son to Fernandes or Rashford, it could have been, and then Ings to Martial for a hit. So someone out there must have done that, because lots of people do it. Manchester United were keen, and a few people went for it. So it was a 35-point swing if you took that hit for that. So Leeds fan Tony D, well done for fessing up and move on. And he's actually been doing quite well at the beginning of this season, so I'm sure it won't bother him too much. FPL Indian and a Redhead Till Dead, they all made that exact move. But there's others as well, aren't there, Az? So take us through some rough with the smooths.
I mean, we could do an entire hour and a half Scoutcast on the roughs and the smooths, because it was just one of those weeks where you either got an amazing score or you were left feeling absolutely terrible. So, I mean, there's so many, but these are some of my favourites. So let's do the smooths first. Get those out of the way, because we've got enough of Karam with his big score. There's people that did even better than Karam. So Brian 11, he got 24 points with his first team. He kept the faith and got 103 points on his Game Week 2 team. And his only move he made was Zaha in for Pulisic. So how good is that? Kept Kane,
brilliant.
kept Song, came Ings, kept all, patience. And, that kind of score. Alfie Pod's Fantasy Football, 105 points. Captain Son. Who was thinking of doing that? Yeah. Amazing. Bury It Kermit. How are these for 2 moves? He took out Pulisic and Dele Alli and bought in James Rodriguez and Son.
Amazing.
Lovely.
He will always remember that, even even when he's about 100 years old on his deathbed. He's gonna be there and not saying, "Oh, Rosebud" or whatever. He's gonna be saying that. He's gonna be recounting that moment.
They are the best transfers I've ever seen made. ever, I think.
By far,
because
yeah.
2 players who didn't play for 2 players who got, one got 24 or whatever it was, and then one got, you know. AA334, shout out to him. He won the Scout Pick Challenge. Didn't just win the Scout Pick Challenge, beat the Scout Picks by 53 points, even with 1 player not playing of his 11. So, yeah, absolutely smashed the Scouts. And finally, Hedge, this is just a really nice story. So his son, who's 5, has a team. He tried to convince him to take out Kane or take out Son and bring in a Man United player. He refused. He insisted on captaining Harvey Barnes and did. And he got 105 points.
Get him with the SCOUTCAST next week.
And an overall rank of 4,000. So, yeah, 5-year-old.
Wow. Announce our new guest.
Announce Hedges' son. I love that story.
Get him on. He knows what he's doing.
And some roughs. Tamagotchi Massacre, he did the opposite of Brian 11.
Yeah.
He had a terrible game week and wildcarded. And he wildcarded out Ings, Son, Barnes, Trent, Kane, and Mitrovic. And it's cost him around 50 points just on that move as well.
Well, that's a successful wildcard. I mean, I've had some okay, bad, and good wildcards in my time, but I've never had that one like that.
I know. I mean, I told you these are brutal. Some of these.
Have you got I've got a picture to put up. Are you going to mention
can you put it on? Yeah, you can. Well, that's my last one. So
okay. Save it for last.
I'll give you the thing. Yeah, the last one. So it gets worse than that. Ian Lamerton, 44 goals this game week. He managed to get 0. He got 27 points. He had Egan. He had St. Maximan. His only players that got over 3 points were Walker Peters and Charlie Taylor, who got 9 points. I'm on his bench. They conceded, so they didn't get 9 points. They conceded 9 goals and still outscored the rest of his team. Okay, and finally, last one. So this is good. So Hindu Monkey on Twitter, shout out to him. He posted what I thought was the worst score.
Was this
this game week?
The picture that you sent it. This is
so
he got picture.
So he got 19 points, and he asked, "Has anyone got worse than 19 points?" And he managed to find someone. This is the worst score I could find this week. So thanks to Hindu Monkey for this. At Millamax, 16 points after the hit. And it's less than if your team just all played and got 2 points. I mean, the team
it's worse than them just turning up.
Worse than just turning up. The team looks absolutely fine. Like, there is no major issue with this team at all. Like, it's got Johnston, Alexander-Arnold, Ayling, Egan. So Alexander-Arnold got 7. Obviously, Egan got sent off, -2. Ayling got 1. It's got Maximan, Havertz, Fernandez, captain, Salah, all blanked. Adams, Martial, Werner, all blanked. 20 points, -4, 16. The worst I could find. And there you go.
He got a Walker Peters assist on the bench.
Yeah.
So
it would have been his second highest scoring player.
That's unbelievable. But that's unbelievable. I've had weeks like that. I remember having 3 in a row, which were like that. And it's hard to recover from it. But I think with that team, I can't believe it's going to get 16 points.
No, I know.
No way.
It looks fine, doesn't it?
I would be tempted with that of just one move or just keep as is and then reassess.
I know. It's crazy, right? It's got 2 United players. Like it just looks fine. So yeah, I reckon they'll probably wildcard, but I would show some patience.
It's a bizarre game week because the fine margins, the variance here are huge. Whether you make 1 or 2 transfers max, it could swing you 35, 40 points to you or against you, which is mad. I've never seen something like this in many years.
I know. Ridiculous week.
It's lovely in the live chat. Kamsi was saying, I feel better already, and Nistel Percy actually feel good now. I'm presuming they're talking
there you go.
About seeing all these disastrous scores. But hopefully there's good game weeks around the corner. There's some new players, obviously, this season. But there's an old face returning. I'm going to put up a real blast from the past picture. Team of the season, 2011-12. It's even in black and white. I'm surprised it's not in sepia. It's a picture of Gareth Bale there. This was back in May for that season on Fantasy Football Scout. It was when we were singing his praises quite regularly. around that time, and he was absolutely tearing up the game. It was great. It was, I mean, many a double-digit score, and captaincy haul I got from Gareth Bale around them. He's rejoined the game from Real Madrid, 9.5. Isn't quite ready, so not going to be starting as far as we know anytime soon. We're not sure. But before we look at Man City and wildcard options, I wanted to ask your opinion on Bale and whether we should fit him in when he's ready. So Squeezy is amongst those very many people who asked about him, just saying at 9.5, is Bale actually underpriced? Karam, go to you first. Bale's back, but 9.5, are you tempted?
Well, exciting news to see him back to Spurs after many years. And 9.5 was the kind of a price we predicted, right? We said between 9 to 10 million. That's what we expect. 9.5 could be interesting. I'll be cautious myself. First of all, because I don't know what is his physical condition in terms of gameplay. And he is 31, so that's something to take into account in a Mourinho formation. So how Mourinho will deploy him, because we've seen with Real Madrid, he usually plays on the right wing, but he tends to play inside as a second striker, or sometimes when Benzema was out, he played half a season in 17-18 as a striker. So that's a point to consider, to see first how would he fit in, and at the expense of whom. Would that be Lucas who make way? Would that be Bergwijn? Would it be Son is of course more or less untouchable, but
Mora is rubbish.
No way after his son.
Oh, he's such a poor player.
Could be. I don't think that Mourinho would ask a lot of defensive duties from a 31-old man. So I have a feeling that he will be deployed somewhere in the middle, whether that 9.5 or 10. That's yet to be seen. We've seen Kane is like a prime Brony last game week as a cam. So is that something to continue? So, I mean, Bale would be exciting. I still think though that Son with 0.5 cheaper can still offer a good value. Whether that's a better value is still yet to be seen. I would have liked to have Bale at 9 million to give us a more difficult decision to pick him or Son, assuming that he is match fit. So yeah, he's definitely on the watch list straight away. But I'm still cautious, because he then will have to compete with Rashford, with Son, with some of those players. Would he offer a better value than the 8.5 potentially? Players like Mahrez, Havertz, if he kicks in the league. So yeah, his price point is there in terms of team structure. I think many of us have that slot in midfield. Whether he would be ready sooner, very soon, that's something to monitor for sure. He doesn't need a lot of time. He's been in the Premier League before.
Yeah.
So in terms of settling in, he will settle in, but will he play a lot of minutes? That's the question.
So wait and see. Az, what do you think? You going for Bale?
I love it. I love this signing so much. I absolutely love Gareth Bale. I mean, you just have to watch all the different sort of highlight videos of him at Spurs. I mean, and at Madrid, not just at Spurs. I mean, the goals he scores, the pace he's got, the power he's got of his shot. He is a world class player. I don't need to go on about how great he is. The big issue with him is obviously the fitness. So he hasn't played a lot of games for Madrid, and he has been injured a lot and things like that. But I mean, he scored an overhead kick in the Champions League final 2 years ago. So his class and ability hasn't wavered at all. I don't doubt for a second. It's literally just that fitness issue.
Yeah.
So I want to see him play a few games in a row before I get him in. I won't be, when Mourinho declares him fit, I wouldn't be suggesting that everyone rushes and buys him. But if he gets 2 games under his belt and looks sharp and ready, he's got a point to prove. I'd be very, very tempted.
I like in the live chat at the moment, Marcus P suggesting that 9.5 for fancy golf would be a good price. It's in relation to obviously Bale's love of the game of golf. Not as much as football,
I wonder what the
obviously.
order's going to be now. Is it
Yeah.
going to be Wales, Spurs, golf, or will golf still be
I
above
don't know. I'm looking
Spurs?
forward to
Maybe
Gareth
come
Bale's
second.
hat tricks,
Yeah,
hole in ones, birdies, and so on. I remember as a Brighton fan, I remember standing in the Goldstone, and an old face came on the pitch, and it was Russell Osman from Escape to Victory, and he was about 40 at the time, and we were all very excited, but he was just an old man. So the same could happen with Gareth Bale. I doubt it though. I'm being facetious. Last year for Real Madrid, 16 matches, but obviously sub appearances. We're talking here. We're talking out of favour, injuries. Just 2 goals and 2 assists. Year before, 29 matches, 8 goals and 3 assists. So we're talking sort of a return every third match or so, not every other match at best. Perhaps Wales, maybe his form could be a good gauge in terms of those form. 2019-20 Euros qualifying, he had 8 matches, scored 2 goals and an assist. But 16-17, the World Cup qualifying, which is when he was sort of more at his international peak. 7 matches, 4 goals and an assist there. And 2014-15, the Euros qualifying, we all remember him around that time. 10 matches, 7 goals and 2 assists. You can see the pattern there as he's getting older, as the injuries pile up, at his club level falling out of favour. So too are the returns there. So let's hope he is a good asset in our midfield here, and he's just not there for the hole-in-ones.
It's a very unlevy signing, isn't it? Paying this much money for someone with this kind of risk, getting on in their career. I mean, he's paying sort of, I read £250,000-300,000 of his salary at Madrid, which is double that. So they obviously are confident that he can have a big impact this season. I mean, especially as he's starting the season injured as well. So there's a lot of faith in him from Spurs.
Yeah, let's move on. Next topic, Man City. Karam.
Just one thing, Joe. Just some breaking news, which won't be breaking news if you listen to the podcast, but it's breaking news now. West Ham have had 2 players test positive for coronavirus, Issa Diop and Josh Cullen, and their manager, David Moyes. So what does this mean for their game against Wolves at the weekend?
Wow.
Difficult.
Maybe they'll turn up. Who knows?
But you predict. You said about this last week, Joe. Having a bench. The Wolves game's called off, and you brought in Podence and brought in Saïss and Jimenez, or if you've got Antonio, you need to keep your eyes on that to see what's going on. Yeah,
definitely. It's all stepping up across all walks of life. We're seeing those infection rates go up. So of course, football is not going to be immune to that as well. Yes, unfortunately, I have actually made some transfers this week. We're all human, and. Anyway, I'll talk about that a bit later. But I appear to have woken up with a couple of strange chaps in my team, that is. Let's move on to the next subject. Man City. So enough of these old sepia pictures of Gareth Bale. Let's have a look at some modern players. Karam, you're a City fan. So, take it away.
Right, so it only took 1 game week of gameplay for City to bring them here on the table to discuss today. And... they were electric, they were sharp, they were good against the arguably one of the best, if not the best, defensive side from the second part of last season until now that Wolves was. So we've got a lot of questions about Man City assets. One of the popular transfers, of course, is Aubameyang to one of the City assets. And a lot of questions coming in, which one to pick. KDB seems obvious. We've seen his performance, he's just beautiful to watch. More questions about more of the assets, which one to pick. Can we find value in the City options? And probably for the first time in many years, we will not have a lot of rotation, at least for the next few game weeks, because Bernardo Silva is injured. Mahrez is back from the COVID-19, but also Gundogan is tested positive. So it seems like we have a small pool of players to select from. D. Beck is asking, Aubameyang out for City midfielder looks good. KDB is the obvious replacement, but is considering Sterling overthinking it? Gregor is asking as well, should we get Jesus in, perhaps for Werner? And Lindy Lol is asking, is KDB and Sterling in midfield overkilling? So let's start with you, Az. Your thoughts about City assets, and do you have anyone in your team right now?
it's funny when you hear someone like Solskjaer saying about United and how they haven't had much of a pre-season and how they're going to need some time to get up to speed. And then you watch City in one of the toughest matches they could possibly have to start a season, looking absolutely fantastic with loads of players out. David Silva not there, so you're wondering how they're going to adapt to that. I mean, they didn't just adapt; they were absolutely incredible. KDB playing more advanced on penalties. I don't need to go on about how amazing he was, because if you watch that game and haven't found a way to bring in De Bruyne, then fair play to your levels of ability to tune him out of your thinking, because I don't see how you could watch that game and not think he's going to hit 250, 300 points this season. Like if he plays like that against Wolves, with all the goals that are going in already this season, he's going to have an absolutely amazing season. So he's in straight away. Made the move last night. Aubameyang for KDB, as the plan kind of always was. I mean, I like the look of all of them. I think Foden at 6.5. Obviously, you've got the risk that he's going to drop out with the minutes, but he got the goal. He looked really good. Mahrez could come in and he could move back into midfield, and and Rodri could leave, for example. Fernandinho's getting on a bit now as well, so it could be Rodri and Foden. So he's versatile and he can play in different positions. I mean, you've got to think with David Silva out and no real replacement bought, he's going to get a lot of minutes this season. So I think, if you're willing to accept that he might get benched a bit for 6.5, you just get him in and you leave him, and you just enjoy the points. You don't need to captain him, and and I think it's a very, very viable strategy for 6.5. It's a really good price. But I don't think you get him instead of De Bruyne. You get him with De Bruyne. And yeah, Sterling I'm struggling with, because I still think two premium, like 12 million-ish players is the way to go. And I still think Salah and De Bruyne are the way to go. So I'm not looking at Sterling, but I wouldn't say he's a bad pick. I just think it's quite difficult to fit him in with the other two.
That sounds very good. About you? What about you, Joe?
Yeah, it does sound very good.
Some positive feedback.
Yeah, he's a very good lad, isn't he? Yeah, for me, KDB's the one. I've got him in already. It's obviously the move been planning as soon as we saw the fixtures. It just worked out perfectly. Arsenal and Aubameyang, two great first fixtures, and then you can move on to Man City, an asset then. I mean, there wasn't a feeling, will it be KDB or Sterling? But it's obviously going to be KDB. I've got some stats up on the screen. We can see that he got most chances created, 6, 4 goal attempts. Every single one of those goal attempts was on target as well. He's creating a chance every 15 minutes. You don't ignore these stats, and you don't. And if you want to ignore those stats, just watch the match, and then you can't ignore him. He's basically, I'm gonna say it, he's essential. Just get him in.
Ooh,
don't mess around. Get him in. Yeah, I've said it. I've done it. I've cat's out the bag.
I agree. I think he is, though. I
Yeah.
think he is. I just don't think you can make a case for not.
I think
having him.
I think in terms of double up, even treble up on City, yes, very viable. So you're looking at prices. Foden, yes, 6.5, good value. For me, the way I'm structured up, Martial to Jesus next week is a possibility. I can do that because they play Leeds in game week 4, and I would like me some of that. Man City are going to be, Man City and Leeds defence. So let's go. Jesus and KDB. Now, if people are wildcarding now, everyone's wildcarding to a specific type of team, and it's as we described with the basics of getting Salah or KDB, or at least 2 of those premiums. But I wonder, there could be, if someone wanted to go a bit differential and get a bit of an edge, they could move to a 3 premium midfield. They could have Salah, KDB and Sterling, or they could have KDB and Sterling and do what Karam's doing and have a triple up in defence, or at least a double up in Liverpool defence. I think there's a lot of options for those wildcarding. We're going to come to that in a mo about wildcarding, but it's not so structured in 3-4-3. Salah, KDB. There's a lot of options with Man City because they're clearly on it. The Wolves' defence is incredible, and they just tore them apart. Apart from Podence, who dared to nutmeg KDB.
That was great, wasn't it?
But these, it's the same as it always was. Get City players in. But I think with De Bruyne in a more of a number 10 role, I think he's filling a void in the team as that David Silva had, not necessarily in the number 10 role. You see what I mean? In terms of the personality, the person on the pitch who's going to drive the team forward, the talisman that you want there. I think KDB is probably going to rise to that mantle in the same way that in a few seasons past when Dele Alli was good, Dele Alli, when Kane was injured, Dele Alli stepped up. I'll take the penalties. I'm the one who's going to score the goals. And KDB, is that man.
It's my hope for Havertz that's the kind of role that he plays for Chelsea, in that kind of KDB, making things happen, getting forward. I mean, obviously he's a little bit off KDB standards at the moment, but if you've seen him play in the Bundesliga and things, then he's got potential. But that kind of central attacking midfield creator of everything is just such a great player to have in your team. And James Rodriguez is similar, I think. Obviously not KDB levels, but just making things happen. It's just such a great player to own in your team. I love players like that.
It's also, I mean, I have toyed with the idea. I mean, I've been quite relaxed this season about getting some quite bad game week results, but I am even toying with going even more relaxed and just putting the captaincy on KDB, and there you go. I'm probably not going to do that because I'm going to move the captaincy around and miss KDB's captaincy points, but I think that's a massively viable strategy. It's just captain KDB every week. There you go. It's done.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's the same. I wouldn't add too much about for what you said about KDB. Until Sunday, I was really 50-50 between him and Sterling on the basis that do I want consistency and a penalty taker and someone who is beautiful to watch. As a fan, there is an extra incentive for me to have KDB. And even in the day when he doesn't return points, I wouldn't be upset because he's just very good on the pitch. So it was between him and Sterling, and I had to make my transfer Sunday evening to afford my second transfer, which we will talk about at the end. But I did not regret that at all yesterday. I was like, job done. The number 10 role thrived KDB and everybody else. If you look at the stats, it's 2 weeks of stats. It's 1 game week for KDB. But if you look at the goal threat stats, in terms of big chances total, only Son and Zaha has more than KDB. So it's only 1 game week, yes.
Yeah.
But it might feel like that KDB is even taking more goal threat than assisting, as well as assisting, because he is a giver, as in one of his videos. He will keep delivering, and penalties, it's just too good for him. We've seen like a ridiculous number of penalties so far this season, and there's a research done by who got the assist last week and also was mentioned in the Black Box video, FPL Black Box video for Az and Mark. We might have more penalties. So City is one of the teams that just live in the opponent's box, have a lot of touches inside, and they are more exposed for tackles and winning penalties. So KDB is there. It's almost essential, I would say. Yeah.
You saw it from Saïs's tackle. So the speed in which City got that ball into the box, and Saïs, making that tackle, it was such a clumsy tackle. It made him look like a championship defender when he's actually a brilliant defender. And that's what they do. They create things just out of nothing. And when that's happening in the box, they're going. You're right. They're going to get a lot of penalties this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's now owned by 38%. For me, he's still a bit differential. He should be 50% or more. What I would say though, Sterling is ridiculously differential now, 5%, 5.4%. And in terms of open play, I expect them to match each other sort of. So Sterling would get his 20 goals plus minus. So if you look for an edge, with my structure, which come on later on, as you said, Joe, one of the reasons I went to triple at the back for Liverpool is that I can sort of compensate the points from Liverpool attack by their defense, but no other team can do that. I can't rely on City defense to compensate the attack, no other team as well. So having both Sterling and KDB, I would imagine it's going to be overtaken if you have him with Fernandez or with Salah. But having both of them, we've seen last season that the form is a little bit, there is a pattern in the form. Sterling away, KDB at home. If you captain KDB home, Sterling away, job done pretty much. So it's one of the reasons why I'm looking at Sterling myself as well, because my structure would allow me to have both in, of course, at the expense of Salah. But just to go down further the list, I really like what Jesus is offering as well. One of the key learnings from last season with Man City number 9 is when you have one of the two. The reason we don't own Aguero or Jesus for most of the season is because of the rotation risk. And one of the key essential parts is that if someone is injured, just get the another, because he will play most of the minutes. And I know Jesus is not it's not a superb finisher, but the amount of service he will get, he will score goals either way. He scored 14 goals last season. Probably he could have scored 25 if it was Jimenez, for example. But that's how it is. And I think the Jesus will be a really great value. If you can't afford both KDB and Sterling, probably one of them plus Jesus and 2 million could do the job. And I would agree on Foden. I would agree with Az on Foden. 6.5, just to throw it in. He's the one that I would be worried about his minutes, because for now it's Mahrez and Foden who will switch places as a right wing if they stick to the 4-2-3-1. So
that's interesting. I mean, that makes me feel slightly better, because my tentative plan, you can never plan too much in FPL, but my tentative move, game week 4, target Leeds, target Man City. Target Leeds as in target their defence. And I would like to go into that with a Jesus and KDB captain double up, or effectively treble up if you're captaining KDB. I think that would be good. And I think it'll be Martial or Werner, whichever one I don't like this weekend, will go for that. And I may even do that. I probably will have to do that for a hit, but I don't think I'm taking a hit this week. And I think there are a few wildcards and hits knocking around. Speaking of wildcards, we've had quite a few questions on that, haven't we, as wildcarding?
We have indeed. I mean, with all the chaos and low scores comes people wildcarding. So as well as all the hits we're seeing, we had loads of wildcards after game week 1. We're now getting loads of wildcards after game week 2. I think you've got a picture for me, Joe, which is I'm not wildcarding amazingly when look at my team. I'm keeping, but what I've done is just put together what I think is a decent wildcard team, not necessarily the best, but a decent one. Just run through some questions. So Flinny says, who are the wildcard must-haves? Lukaku says, when wildcard, which structure looks best? Perhaps 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. FPL Banger says, if wildcarding, would you keep Werner with just 1 assist against West Brom? And FPL T says, is the Power 5 a myth from FPL Legend? Is it possible this season? So just to run through the team that I put together this morning. There's Martinez in goal. There's Nyland along with him. Mitchell, Sace, Alexander-Arnold, Eric Peters, who might get a spell on the left wing with Goodmanson injured, and Lamptey, who is just brilliant. Like, if you've seen any Brighton matches this season, he's had chances to score.
I don't know how we've got him, and I say we as in Brighton fans. I don't know, but I'm pleased we have.
Yeah, let's just enjoy it while it lasts. I've got Rodriguez, Salah, De Bruyne, Pedence, Foden, and then Jimenez, Werner, and Brewster. And I look at that team and I think, God, that's a lot better than my team. But I also look at that team and I think, well, actually, there's a lot of players who I don't have. So players like Jesus, who we mentioned, who is a good pick. There's no Son. There's no Calvert-Lewin. There's no, obviously, no Chelsea midfielders. So Pulisic and Ziyech and Havertz could all come good. There's no Sterling. It just shows that there's so many options to go for. And there's no United. So, after game 1, Man United, everyone's rushing to get them. They have a bad week and now suddenly everyone's selling them. It wouldn't surprise me if United, Brighton haven't got Basuma because he got a red card. Lamptey is a doubt as well. If he doesn't play, we're going to be massively weakened. So I think it could be quite a good game for United as well in terms of, they can counter-attack us a lot better than they could Crystal Palace. So it's amazing to see different wildcards. We did go in different ways and all things like that. So it's interesting. I mean, I've got an article on this coming out tomorrow. I still think patience is key. I know the temptation for me to wildcard my team to this team is absolutely massive, obviously, because I've had 2 poor weeks. But game week 4, we have an international break, the transfer window closes, and we have 4 weeks of data rather than just 2.
Yeah.
So in my view, if you look at your team and you've got sort of 3 or less players that you genuinely think are rubbish, so players who aren't playing, like if you've got Dele Alli, Egan suspended, that kind of thing. If you've got 3 or less of those, then I think you can get by until game week 4. Keep patience, keep faith with the team you put together before game week 1. Obviously, if you need it, if your team needs it, if you haven't got 11 coming out, or you've got some rough players, or if you do want to play more aggressively, then do it. But I think I do genuinely think it's good to be patient at this stage, because the wild card is so powerful. We've got double game weeks to come. We've got all the COVID stuff. We've got so much stuff that can happen, and to use it after game week 2 is a bit, I don't know, it doesn't feel quite right. But anyway, that hasn't answered anyone's questions. So let's come to you first then, Joe.
Okay.
If you were wildcarding, you must be slightly tempted like I am.
Well,
who would you get?
Well, my answer is I'm not, which is weird because I should be. But I look at my team. I've made a couple of transfers already. I've got 2 free transfers made, and then on top of that, there's really a sort of a -8. But these are sort of moves I'd quite like to do over the next couple of weeks. So, for example, I think it's just a lack of information at the moment for me. I don't know about the players, and also you've got your team on the screen, and your front line, Werner, Brewster, should he move, as we hope he would, to a team like, I don't know, Sheffield United or Palace or someone, and then Jimenez as well. But then that moves out Jesus perhaps, and then also perhaps then Manchester United start firing. Then there's Martial. Kane carries on getting 4 assists every match. We're going to want him if Vardy goes for his 2nd golden boot, because it's impossible to look at Vardy's stats and go, ooh, his XG's terrible. That's just the way he operates. It's just not enough information at the moment. So what I did is I went through. It's not me saying don't wildcard, because it's just different for everyone. If you know. If you think you need to wildcard, do it. If like me, I'm not that keen on it for my team, but I'm not telling anyone else not to.
I think it's just about taking that step back and just saying, am I reacting to a bad game week again? Have I got players in my team who I don't think are going to score well over the next few weeks?
People who wildcarded last week and they got rid of Son and they got rid of Mane and Ings for.
And like Chelsea, players like Werner are being sold. Players like Martial, Fernandes are being sold, and they're exactly the kind of players you could want back next week.
So what I did is I went through my team, and so I've got Ryan as a set and forget keeper. I'm quite happy with Brian's fixtures, going right up till game week 16, 17. Okay, I think Martinez could be better and get him in, but it's a bit of a luxury move, really. Is it really worth doing wildcarding over? I've got Alexander-Arnold and Robertson double up. Time will tell, but I think I'm going to get points from them most weeks. I'm going to get either clean sheets or I'm going to get some form of assists or even goals. Dyer, yes, he's one I want to move, and I want to move him to a Wolves defender or any emerging 4.5, Lamptey, for example. Mitchell, bench fodder, doesn't matter, not going to wildcard for that. Walker-Peters, bench fodder again, 4.5, getting assists though, but he's going to be on my bench. So once again, it's not really important enough for me. Salah, fine. KDB, fine. Soucek, cheap, fine enabler. He's not doing anything wrong, I don't think. Podence, Wolves, great run. Just nutmegged KDB in most wildcard teams too this week. Can always move him on. Basuma, bench fodder, doesn't matter. Martial, one match, not enough. Not enough information for me yet to decide on Martial. But next week I might decide Jesus is better than Martial. But I want at least another match out of him. Werner, he has got West Brom's defence up. Why would I want to get rid of him this weekend? And he's earned 2 penalties. Only one was converted, but he's earned 2 penalties. And Adams, he can easily be moved to another 6.5 forward, easy. Find another million somewhere, and I'm moving into Calvert-Lewin territory. It's just not wildcard territory. So one thing my team lacks is a a Gareth Bale, another 9 million or so a Son midfield side. If I desperately decide I want that, then I will probably have to sacrifice a Liverpool defender, and I would probably have to go for someone like Brewster and look more 3-5-2.
Which is why I wanted Havertz for that option.
Yeah, but I'm not even sure I can probably do that within a -4 or over a couple of weeks. It's not, for me, it's just not really wildcard territory yet. But yeah, game week 4, international break, maybe. I might go a bit further. I don't know. Might go to the next international break. I might go up to right the way up to the duration game week 16. But I think it's different for different people. Just before I stop rambling on, I just want to put my goals imminent table up. I've tweaked it slightly. It's best over 4 game weeks, which is why 4 game weeks data is the best I find. At least that. But if we're going to go for 2 weeks data, this just shows the sort of players that could do well in the next game week or 2. Richarlison is top, so he did do fine, but he's got goals in him. He's got chances. So he's had 12 goal attempts, 10 inside the box over the last 2 game weeks. His big chances, he's had 2, he's missed them both, no goals. So he's an assist man. Adams, so people are getting rid of Adams. He's gone down in price. He's got West Brom game week 4, 3 big chances. He's had 5 goal attempts, 5 inside the box, 3 of them on target. These are okay stats for that kind of price. And he's got West Brom, so I wouldn't be looking to move him on those. But some of the other players, Soucek I've got in there as well. 5 goal attempts. He's a 5 million midfielder. He's just an enabler. But he's posting quite good stats. Werner's knocking around there as well. 6 goal attempts. 5 of those inside the box. These are okay stats. A few others there. Wilson for Newcastle. If you've got Wilson, Callum Wilson, don't sell him. He's doing well, I think. Some interesting names there, but I bet you a hell of a lot of these players I've just mentioned there are going to be sold but on the wild card this week, and they're going to come in, and we're going to be talking about them in Rough with a Smooth next week. So that's my thoughts on wild carding. If you want a wild card, do, but for me, it's just not for me at the moment.
Yeah. So, Karam, come on, give us some. I'm taking it you're not wild carding after a massive haul last week. Give us some names. I mean, I think Everton are the team that a lot of people are trying to get players in from because they've had such a strong start. I do wonder if the next 2 games are that good for them with Palace away and Brighton at home and then Liverpool. But who are the kind of wildcard must-haves that you would be considering if you were going to get some in?
I'll be honest, I actually struggled this morning to put in a wildcard team that I'm fully happy with because, psychologically, I'm coming out of a great game week, so the temptation is not there to wildcard for myself.
You said you'd only mentioned it once. You're a liar.
What's that?
Your great game week.
Was it twice? Okay.
Yeah.
Apologies. That's yeah. I tried to work out a wildcard team where the thing is, I don't have actually full info about players and teams to judge whether that form will continue. So Everton was superb the first 2 game weeks, but then, as you said, they have 3 tough games. So we didn't have enough variance of opponents to judge whether Everton would. So they've been brilliant in 2 out of 2. Would they be brilliant in 4 out of 4, for example, or would they dip a little bit? Salah, for example, he scored a hat-trick, but then he blanked against Chelsea. So would my wildcard team include Salah or no Salah? He put some stats. Yeah, that's nice, but would I go for it? So yeah, for the benefit, game week 2 was just bizarre in goals. I wouldn't put any money in goalkeepers at this rate. So although I like Patricio as a 5.5, he's probably one of the best alongside Guaita at 5.0. I'm still not entirely sure about the 4.5 goalkeepers. They won't last long. But if you are determined to spend that money, then I think Martin is a standout out of the 4.5 goalkeepers.
I'm happy with Ryan, but having Ryan means I don't really want to get Lamptey, and I think Lamptey is the best 4.5 defender.
He made my draft. He made my draft, Lamptey, along with Saiz, Alexander-Arnold. I still think that Alexander-Arnold will come good He was on the free kicks, and annoyingly he was in a debate with Salah to take that free kick against Chelsea, but he's still dangerous. And if you look at
I was just to say on Alexander Arnold, I've got a sort of assist imminence table, and he's on 4 chances created, 8 corners, 17 crosses, no assists. Those say assist imminent, but anyway,
it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming now. Yeah, so I think he should be still there. I see him out of many wildcard teams, and I think he's still offering great value even at 7.5. The one I wouldn't go without in defense is Robertson. If you look at the heat map against Chelsea, without knowing it's Robertson, I would have thought he's Mane, because he was a left wing, so advanced, so dangerous. Takes 50% of the corners. He takes the left corners on the left side plus some free kicks, and I think at 7 million, that's ridiculous. So I think he should be there along with the Trent. If you have to go for one out of the two, maybe I would go Robertson, to be honest.
Wow.
But at least consider one of those two for sure. In midfield, I've gone for KDB. That's the problem. My wildcard team doesn't have Salah because I have 2 Liverpool defenders. And there are so many options that I don't know if they will come good in the next few game weeks. Whether I will go back to Salah, that's something. So, for example, KDB is there, no question about that. Son is there. Of the back of 4 goals last weekend, even though he will not repeat it every game week, I can't take him out. Newcastle and West Ham in the next 3, Man United in between, that's tough. But the other 2 are very good. James Rodriguez made it there in the list. It was between him and DCL, but I've got another option in the attack. So I've gone for him just on the back of 2 game weeks again. So I don't know really how they perform against Palace, who turned out to be really good defensively so far. And then against Brighton, who are very good defensively. And then Liverpool, which is always, I remember maybe 5 of the last 6 derbies between them was 0-0. So it's always low scoring game week. I'm not expecting massive returns from them. Podence has to be there after not meeting KDB. I will not forget for him, but he surely has to be there. I think with that performance, he nailed down his spot in the 11. The 5th midfielder, which can potentially break the game, is Oliver Burke, or I don't know how you pronounce it, the 4.5 midfielder at Sheffield. He started and played 90 minutes, probably for a reason after the red card. But if he nails down a spot, he can actually break the game. He can be the last year's Cantwell, who did not last long, but he can potentially be one of those who can be 4th midfielder potentially. Werner, I still have him there because it's West Brom. I can't wild card and take Werner out. He is probably one of the best 2 or 3 captain options. Jesus is there as a second Man City asset. I still think that he should be owned because Aguero is out. So he is still under 3% on. So you have really a huge upside if you go for him and he returns. The last spot is for Chris Wood. I have a 6.5 spot. It could be Wilson, but the fixtures stiffen in. So if you wildcard, then I think I would go for Chris Wood. You could go down to, I don't know, Bamford, Mitrovic. Mitrovic was...
Chris Wood, wow.
It almost doesn't matter who it is.
Makes your wildcard team.
He will score 13, 14 headers this season. That's a given.
I was going to say Chris Wood's what's putting me off Brewster, which sounds weird. But Chris Wood, Mitrovic, Bamford even, whoever. You've got this pool of cheap strikers who can get double-digit returns. Yeah. So I would definitely look at 3-4-3, 3-5-2... 3-4-3, anything with 4-3-3 even. But I think 3 strikers is absolutely ideal, and that's what's putting me off the likes of Brewster, Chris Wood, because
Chris Wood he has Southampton at home, defensively bad. Newcastle away, probably defensively bad. West Brom, we know that. So the next 3 are amazing.
No.
Tottenham.
No.
Why?
No. Come on. Chris Wood.
No. I personally say Chris Wood just in terms of the price. A 6.
Phil Foden's same price.
6 points. Yeah, well, I get Phil Foden as well as a 6. But there's so much choice in that 6.5 striker.
Exactly. You can't have Chris Wood.
Well,
I'm so sorry. I'm anti Chris Wood here.
hey,
Fair enough.
I just wanted to mention a couple of stats actually because I know a lot of people are wildcarding, and I know if they've got Fernandes in, they're going to rage transfer him out. But it's worth noting Fernandes in that Manchester United game against Palace created 5 chances, had 6 corners, had fired in 12 crosses. This is not the sort of stats of a player that you definitely want to get rid of. You want to keep him and see if they're going to turn to actual returns. There's no assist from that. So that's what you want to do with a player like that. So I'd be tempted to keep Fernandes or Martial and wait and see if you're wildcarding. Because they're easy to move on. They're easy, but you can move on to Son from Fernandes. You can move on. You can move that really down. Yeah, you can get Foden in and free up 4 million. But I just think it's worth giving them another week or so, because it's just first going back, and the Palace defence who are annoyingly good at the moment. But the other stat I wanted to do, because a lot of people are doing Podence. They've got some maximum, like me. They've had enough. So they're getting Podence in. Well, I've had a look on the comparison tool on Fantasy Football Scout. So Podence got 2 assists, we know about. So maximum, no assists. Podence is treble the baseline bonus. So simply turning up, doing your stuff, irrespective of goals and assists. He's got treble the chance of bonus there. 2 goal attempts to 1. Quadruple the number of crosses. 2 big chances from Podence. So maximum 0. 2 corners taken, and some maximum 0 again. So what you're looking at is basically on 2 game weeks evidence, but it's early days, but you're looking like you've got a potential player versus a dud. So I think that is an easy move if anyone's tempted. I know some
Are you
people
not a little bit worried about Semedo coming in?
No, because I think he's going to get significant minutes. I would much say Podence is on the bench.
Significant minutes isn't nailed on though.
I think who is nailed on in this day and age, apart from KDB?
Well, Chris Wood.
Going Chris Wood. Podence is 5.5 midfielder who plays for a Wolves team which has got great fixtures, and even though they just got beaten by City, they have got form on their side as well. Podence, I believe, will start most games, if not all games, because now that Jota has gone, I think there's less competition. But
there's so much competition. There's
Mito and Vitinha as well.
But also with Podence, even if he's not starting, he's going to start most matches, I think. But when he's not, he's going to get significant minutes when he comes on. I'm talking when he's on the bench, he's going to get significant minutes coming on.
Yeah, but you're not going to want a player coming off the bench.
Hey, when do Wolves score most goals? When does Jimenez score goals with his head?
Joe, you will not keep Podence if he comes off the bench for 30 minutes each week.
Now,
no way.
I know you recommended Podence last week, and for some reason you're now anti-Podence.
I'm going off him because Semedo comes in, and that means Traore won't play at right wing back, and Traore is too good not to play. So if they play 3-5-2, that's going to be Traore and Jimenez up front. Where does Podence fit into that? If they play 3 up front, he has to got competition with Neto, with Silva who came on, and with Traore again. And he's 5.5, and there's very, very little risk of getting him. You get him in, he's got great fixtures, he doesn't play, you move on. I completely get it.
Yeah.
But it's another one where I think after game week 4, when you've had a couple more weeks to know how they line up with Semedo in the team, I just think it gives you a bit more information about whether he is as good an option as we think.
And that's what I think.
No Europe.
And most of we're talking about more information. So we're talking about the likes of Martial, Fernandes, Sterling, perhaps. We're talking big moves here. Taking this, I think, quite small risk on a 5.5 midfielder. That's just not really. I'm not shedding a tear over that move, really. It's just maybe it works out. But as the stats show and as the eyes show, he's better than Maximum. So minimum.
I'm not denying that. I think
we've got better than Maximum.
He's got amazing potential. I mean, he could be an absolutely great pick, but it's not. I don't think it's as. I like taking rosy as it could be.
I quite like Che Adams. I almost wish he had some really bad fixtures coming up, not West Brom, because I do like shuffling around the cheap forwards, and I also like shuffling around a cheap midfielder. And sometimes it works out and you get a gem who's really good value, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's such low value for the rest of the team. It's so, for example, I've got rid of Aubameyang for KDB, and I don't believe that to be a risk. But that's the sort of thing that if that goes wrong, that'll cost you your game week because you're getting your captaincy wrong and you've got a lot of money tied up there. But your 5.5 midfield, I'm not really worried about that. If it gets me 3 points, but if it gets me 6 points, 10 points, 15.
You getting Podence, Karam?
No, I don't think. I don't have any 5.5 slot midfielder here. The cheapest midfielder I have is, well, from the starters is Harvey Barnes at 7 million. That's the thing. I was not entirely convinced about the 5.5 bracket and even 6 million bracket bar Pereira, and that's why I avoided the whole slot completely, and I just put that money into Van Dijk, the 6.5, of course, because I get more assurance of returns and starts. So that's why I avoided it. But Burke is the one that I'm eyeing on, and at 4.5 he could emerge as one of the competitors in that range, let's say. I would love to have Podence because the fixtures are really good for Wolves.
Yeah.
And I don't have Jimenez, and I don't have a Wolves cover at all at the minute. I'd love to have a defender at least, but the attack looks too good to ignore. The thing is, they don't have Europe, and I think they are out of the cup already from the Carabao Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They are. Yeah.
So we will not. Well, hopefully we will not see a lot of rotation, and then we will have a concrete idea on who are the best 11 for Espirito Santo. And then we can rely on it. We know Jimenez is a starter, but it's about the formation, 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. 3-4-3, I would say Podence has a decent chance to have all the starts. In a 3-5-2, it will be much tougher, whether that Traore on the wing back, Semedo if he joins, and who are the two, because you have Vitinha, you have Neto, you have Podence, you have I think also Fabio Silva. He played with Jimenez yesterday. I did not recognize what was his role. Was it behind him or alongside as well? So you have potentially 4 players competing on a position plus Jimenez up top. So it's a little bit risky, and that's why I need more time before I decide on the wild card because of this example.
Because we saw it with Jota last season. So Jota was, was one of Wolves' best players. Now he's gone for 45 million to Liverpool, but he wasn't playing. He was getting subbed at 60 minutes. He was, not starting some games when Troy was going up front. So that's a good example of what I think you can expect with Podence. But at the same time, like Joe says, he's 5.5. And you can kind of just roll with it. It's not, someone said in the chat, it's not going to ruin your week if you blank.
Yeah, I just saw that.
He's got potential to do well. I mean, this all could be relevant anyway because he might even play.
Yeah,
the West Ham games.
I was watching that comment as well. It's from Stoichkov there. Podence blank, that's fine. Doesn't ruin your game week. But if he can get nice points and give you a decent score in a game week, he likes that pick. Yeah, I mean that's basically it. It's just the enabler role really. It's like I've got Soucek. And I'm okay with Soucek, but then if Soucek's not playing, if the West Ham game's cancelled, then I might have to take a hit. But then
I'd be doing some Maximan to Podence for a hit.
Yeah. I just think that's an easy move. If you've got, I don't know, if you're looking at getting Podence for someone else, I'm not sure who else would fit in. It would presumably be part of another move. So I wouldn't want to criticise.
Well, an example for me is I've got Pereira. So Pereira is 6 million, around the same price.
Pereira for Podence now.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It doesn't. He would be my easy way to do it, but if there's just enough risk to make me not want to do that.
So Maximum looks like a dud.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
Pereira is not a dud.
Yeah, agreed.
West Brom may be a dud, but he's a shining light amongst their duds.
That's what
I don't know what that metaphor
I was not expecting 10 points consecutively.
No.
I'll tell you that.
And that free kick was beautiful.
Just wanted to move ahead to the next section. We're going to look at the players to target over the next 4 game weeks. Because Fantasy Football Scout is partnered with Football Index, there may also be players to look at buying through Football Index. With Football Index, you can buy and sell shares in players and use your fantasy football knowledge with the aim to making a profit. I've got up on the screen here a list of the fixtures, but also I've got a Whipping Boys table, a little mini Whipping Boys table. And this is something we showed in the captaincy video this week. Do have a look at that or have a listen to the podcast. But West Brom are just in a league of their own at the moment. At the moment, 2 game weeks information, not that much. But they've conceded 8 big chances. And their XG, the expected goals conceded, is 6.8. Next got to go down to Leeds, who their expected goals conceded is 4.5. So there's a bit of a gap there. And then there's the rest. There's sort of the Fulham, Tottenham, Southampton. They're knocking on the door of being a whipping boy. But at the moment, it's definitely West Brom. So what I'm looking at with those fixtures is who's playing West Brom. And so looking there, they've got Chelsea next. If you've got Werner, keep him because he's playing West Brom. Southampton, play them. If you've got Ings, if you've got Adams even, keep, because this so far this defence is awful. And then Burnley, there's your Chris Wood, and then Brighton, well, Lamptey time, but also Maupay as well. So if you've got any of these sort of players or you're considering getting him in, I think try and target a whipping boy. I think, and at the moment it looks like West Brom. But also looking at those fixtures as well. I mean, you can see how good Wolves are. They're completely the top of the tickers. So Wolves have got West Ham, Fulham, Leeds and Newcastle. It does not get better than that. So the next 4 are just amazing for Wolves, which is why people are turning to likes of Podence. Even if he plays 30 minutes, I'll take 30 minutes of Podence against Fulham than 90 minutes of St Maximum against anyone, really. But yeah, Crystal Palace fixtures are turning. So they look really good, and they've had bad fixtures. So their fixtures are getting better. So Palace could be ones to target. West Brom, Burnley we mentioned, Chelsea's fixtures good, West Brom, then Crystal Palace. Well, let's see how the Crystal Palace defence goes. But then they've got Southampton, that's Southampton defence, and then Manchester United. But anyway, I mentioned Southampton in 2 ways of like attack and defence. It's possible to look at a team and go, they're a good team to target and also a good team to target against because the likes of Ings could do really well, but equally they could concede an absolutely hatful of chances and goals. So, but yeah, I don't know either of you when you've looked at the fixtures. Before we come to you, Karam, because I know you've got a differential in mind. Do you look at those fixtures and you're thinking next 4 any particular teams or players to target?
Yeah, I mean, I feel horrible not having a Wolves player in my team. I mean, I think it's exactly the kind of fixtures where I think in 3 or 4 weeks we're going to be looking back at Jimenez and thinking, why on earth did we not get in Jimenez when he's got West Ham, Fulham and Leeds? I mean, three of probably the worst defensive teams in the league. So he's the one that really worries me, especially when I've got Martial, and it would be quite an easy switch to him from keeping the faith with. To be honest, if Martial blanks against Brighton, I would struggle to not target Jimenez for that Fulham match. I also think Saïss is now with Marcel starting again at left wing back. I think Saïss is pretty safe. So he's got great goal threat as well, and he'd be the defender that I go for. So I think you've got Podence, you've got Jimenez, and you've got Saïss. They're the 3 to go for.
Yeah, definitely. Karam, I believe you've got a differential in mind. We're talking 5% or below ownership, and next 4 we've seen the fixtures. So yeah, who is your differential?
Well, it's no surprise it has to be from Man City, right? Yeah, speaking about the assets, and surprisingly, not so much because his price is relatively awful because we have Werner in our squads. But I think Gabriel Jesus at 2.8%.
You've shocked me.
I didn't
even look at his ownership. He's 2.8% owned.
2.8%, wow.
2.8% with Aguero out. That's criminal in my opinion. And yeah, so against in the next 4 they have Leicester, Leeds, Arsenal, and West Ham. So I think Arsenal is the most difficult one because we saw Arteta is tightening up the defense against the big sides, especially against City. He did it in the cup last season. And what I like about him is if you get him somehow, you will have a huge potential upside because not many will go for him because his price would put you in a situation it's him or Werner. But if you somehow can afford both together, then you might have an edge here. And I don't think that Jesus will be highly owned anytime soon, even if he returns every weekend. So with that in mind, I think Gabriel Jesus is the one. Yeah, if you are a wild card and you have to go for one of them, you will have a decision to make with Werner because he has West Brom. It's really hard to ignore. But I bet that Gabriel Jesus will score. The amount of surface he's got, and he had already 3 shots against Wolves and scored in the last action of the game. And we've seen how good Man City were against Wolves, who are the best defensive side, as we know for the minute. So yeah, I think Leicester, if they have done it against Wolves, I like what you said in the captaincy video earlier today, Joe. If they have done this against Wolves, they can do it against anybody else. So yeah, Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, it's a good one. So my pick of Dele Alli the first week was, well, he's not only rubbish, he's not even playing.
I was going to go down as one of the worst. One of the worst.
It's not my
picks,
fault.
I
He suddenly got dumped by the team. So yeah, poor lad doesn't have a chance. But you picked Podence last week on the back of an assist, and he duly delivered with another assist. So you have a return.
Now I've gone off him.
And now you've gone off him. But you'll go off Jesus next week. Just before we move on to reveal our teams, I just wanted to mention that you can sign up to Football Index today. Take advantage of their 7-day £500 money back guarantee. There's a link in the description below to sign up, as well as a link. Check out the full terms and conditions. This is for 18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. You can check out begambleaware.org, and there's a link for this in the description as well. Let's move on to our team reveals then. So Karam, you go first. Got your team up on the screen. I'll just go through it for the benefit of our podcast listeners. You've got McCarthy, and you've got that awesome defence. Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson. And then a 3-4-3, you've got Burke, Son, KDB, who's vice-captain, Barnes, Wilson, Werner, who's staying there, and Jesus, captaincy. The thing that strikes me there is that you've gone for captaining Jesus above Werner or KDB. So what's your rationale there?
Well, when I sent you the team, I sent it before the Wolves game.
Okay.
So there is an announcement that I moved it to KDB because I just can't do that.
Fair enough.
I would love to captain Jesus. I'm totally awake that Jesus could be a decent captaincy pick, but I moved it to KDB back. Overall, it's between KDB, Jesus, and Werner, maybe slightly Son, but I much rather have the first 3 as options. No pressure, Liverpool. One more clean sheet, please. But I got what I wanted from the first 3, so I'm not setting expectation there. Maybe a couple of assists and goals would do. Justin doesn't have a great game week, and I think Leicester will concede. When I saw Burke starting last game week, I have hopes that he would get another start. But even if he comes in as a sub, I think he will score or outscore Justin that game week. So I think I'm pretty much set on benching Justin. And Reed is a 2 points legend, so he will stay there. If I look here, I think my weakness is actually Werner and Wilson. If I look at this team, Barnes has a tough game, of course. But I think
Werner's got a weakness against West Brom.
Werner's a weakness.
He's going to be my captain.
not for this game week. If he doesn't perform, I think he will be the first one to go out of the remaining.
Really?
Slots. I think so, because I can't miss Jimenez against Fulham in game week 4. So that's the thing. When I've got that defense, that settled defense, I would have the courage to make decisions that others might not do, and I can't go back to Werner anytime as well. So if Werner next week, I've done my transfer for this week, but looking forward, I'd have to find a way to get his.
That's got no potential to go wrong.
Yeah. So we will see. I mean, Harvey Barnes, I'm not expecting much, but I know we will leave a lot of space behind, so he can exploit that. He might nick something from that game. The team, apart from the standout captaincy picks, the others don't have a great fixture, so I'm prepared for a rubbish game week after this one. But at least I have best last game week to back it up.
I just wanted to flag up something in the live chat. Mitesh said 3 Liverpool defence is the worst strategy ever. That's so August, mate.
They haven't blanked yet.
Have a look back at the beginning of the show, and Karam details his 89 points this week. So, off you pop. Let's move on to some other teams then. So it's a good team. Yeah, just want to point out there is a captaincy on Jesus there, but it's been moved to KDB for this coming up there. So, your strategy going well, going great guns. I'll put my team up next. I have already made my transfers. I don't usually make early transfers. And I'm not sure why I did it early. I think last season I did a few early. If the price rises were like mega, and I think I was looking at a -4 for these 2 moves, and I had 2 free transfers, and I also went to the pub. So I basically woke up with a Belgian and a guy who I thought was French, but it turns out he's Portuguese in Podence. So I have got Ryan, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Eric Dyer, Soucek, De Bruyne, my vice-captain, Salah, Podence. Now, De Bruyne is in for Aubameyang and Podence is in for St. Maximin. I've got Martial up front, Adams, and Werner is tentatively my captain at the moment. I just think the matchup is really good. I'm waiting for Chelsea to gel. I think I'm going to get returns. I just hope they're mega returns. I don't know. I just think the West Brom defence is so bad. But I may switch it to KDB. I think both are really, really good options. And we spoke earlier about the captaincy, and I do wonder if I'll just permanently captain KDB and just go and have a lie down for a few months. I think someone in the live chat was pointing out that their best season was when they perma-captained Suarez when he was at Liverpool, and I did the same. And I think that was my best season ever as well. So it's a strategy that can pay off, especially when you have a really good player like KDB in the league. So yeah, that's me. Put your team up. So for the benefit of the podcast listeners, you've got Ryan, Alexander-Arnold, Davis, Walker-Peters, Ayling, De Bruyne, who's presumably you in for Aubameyang as your captain, Salah, Havertz, Pereira, Werner, your vice-captain, Martial. So it's a 4-4-2 there. So you've made a move, and are you going to consider any more, or you're happy with that?
Well, yeah, it's either do nothing else. It's either take a -8 or it's wildcard the lot. I've eliminated the wildcard option. I won't be wildcarding this week. I think my biggest problem with my team is probably the formation. So if I was going to wildcard, it would be to move away from 4 at the back. I mean, the reason I've gone for 4 at the back is to give myself, a very pricey front line. So with De Bruyne, Salah, Havertz, Werner, and Martial, they're who I'm expecting all of my points to come from. I'm expecting Pereira to chip in with some assists. He's got a good run after Chelsea, and then just kind of take what I can get from the defence. So that's the strategy. It hasn't really worked so far. We'll see. I mean, my 2 biggest issues, like I said here, are Davies and Havertz. Davies is a massive doubt because obviously they've signed a new left back. I'm tempted to keep him for this week because obviously he's just come into the team. There's a chance that Mourinho could shift to a 3-5-2, which means Davies would go to left centre back. I'm not very hopeful on that. It seems they've just had quite a lot of success with 4-3-3. But I've got enough money in the bank to do Davies to Regulion if I need to. The pronunciation definitely isn't right. Or I could move to Sace or something like that. If Havertz blanks against West Brom, though, he's out.
He's got to go, isn't he?
He's got to go. I mean, it's been one of those players, and I've had it the last 2 seasons as well with Sigurdsson. When you're watching him and you're thinking he doesn't look right in this system, he doesn't look like he's going to get any points at all. He's hooked at half time. It's just awful. But he's just got such a good fixture in that West Brom game that if he's going to light up the Premier League, like so many people are expecting him to, he's got to show something in that game. So if he plays in that game, looks good, gets an assist or a goal, something like that, just gets some points. He's got a good run after that, and I'll be keeping him. But if he doesn't look good, then he's out. He's simple as that. So I'm okay. I think my team, if Davies plays, I'm relatively happy this week, and I'd have Mitchell coming in.
I know that's the crazy thing, and you sound slightly similar to me in that you look at a team come on off a really bad game week, But I look at your team, I look at my team, I look at Karam's team, I think they're all quite good for this week.
And I mean, obviously, if you build a wildcard team, you're going to see a much better team because you're building a wildcard team, and it's probably going to have really good fixtures that week. But I think I've got enough players like Havertz, Martial, Werner to not, because I'll probably lose, two of those on the wildcards if I did it for Jimenez and for Rodriguez and stuff, and I can't guarantee that they're going to score more points. So I'm playing the patient game.
Yeah, no, indeed. Before we go, I want to remind people about the members area. So lots of Opta-driven data there. The comparison tool, which is what I looked at to compare Podence with St Maximum, but there's lots of other things you can compare with teams as well. Rate My Team, you can look at your own team's performance there, and of course the goals imminent table, which we have shown you there, but best look after 4 game weeks for that one. Do check it out. In the meantime, it's a goodbye from me.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye all.